Okay, well, let's begin with getting the news from the city manager here in Cincinnati, Milton Dehoney. Tell me what first went through your mind. Did you have any immediate thoughts that just came right to your mind off the top?
Well, just ecstatic. I mean, I'm just, you know, excited, and this has certainly been a goal of mine for all of my policing career, but not just to become a police chief because I achieved that here by getting the job here in Portland, but more importantly, becoming police chief of a major city, a great city like Cincinnati. And I feel like going to Cincinnati, I'm going home. And when I say that, having grown up in Detroit, which is, and I'll tell you the exact mileage, 234 miles, it really feels like I'm going home. And I spent 28 years in Los Angeles after leaving Detroit after a very brief career as a Detroit police officer, and just excited.
Tell me, too, looking ahead, you said you had a couple of, at least when you started in Portland, Maine, you had some initiatives. Obviously, I'm sure that during your interview process here, they were asking you about what are your thoughts for Cincinnati. I know you were saying homicides, that's definitely a top priority.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, as I oftentimes used to say in Los Angeles, in a very challenging environment that I worked in South LA, is that, one homicide is one too many. One shooting is one shooting too many. And so when I look at, the challenges that I'll be facing in Cincinnati, right now, year to date, 38 homicides. And certainly I want to understand and quickly get into the community and start working on finding solutions together with the men and women of the Cincinnati Police Department as well as the community. And I'm very aware of the great strategy of SERVE. And what I want to do is just take a look at it and see if we can take it to the next level. Because really, when I look at SERVE, I can't help but think about some of the strategies that we use in LA. I just think SERVE is more robust because it's more collaborative in some ways that what we did in LA was not. Although some of the work we did in a collaborative way was phenomenal. So I'm very concerned about that. I'm also concerned, certainly there's a budget crisis confronting the city, so I'm going to be looking very quickly for ways how we can be more efficient. And so those are the two key priorities right now. But the homicide, as we're in the summer months, I really want to get my arms around that quickly.
What about the concern from people saying, okay, he was in LA, but he went to Maine as the actual chief. It's a smaller area. How can he really translate that to work in Cincinnati, a larger city?
Well, that's an honest criticism. I mean, certainly when you look at the city of Los Angeles, 28 years in a city of 4 million people, I mean, just if you just take my Los Angeles experience and look at nothing else, I had the great opportunity to work to the right hand of a former police chief in Los Angeles, Bernard Park. And during that almost 2-year period, I got to learn how to run a large police organization. I felt as if I was in school. I studied the work that the chief was involved in every single day. So after leaving that assignment and being promoted to captain and moving through various assignments as a commanding officer, it was an easy transition for me because I had the foundation. And then so as I went into a more demanding command as a captain, I had the good fortune of being able to mentor new captains, some of which have gone on and promoted beyond the rank of captain. So I'm very grateful for those opportunities. But then, moving into Portland now as a chief executive, and those might say, well, it's a smaller organization and certainly doesn't have the same challenges that you faced in Los Angeles. I would offer, though, that when you look at Portland, which is a very diverse community, increasingly diverse, we have the second largest African immigrant population in the United States, only exceeded by Minneapolis. When you talk about African population, you talk about Sudanese and Somali. That certainly offered me some very key challenges early on. There was poor relations with the police in this community. Police officers were being attacked on a regular basis. And I found that to be odd. I had never been anywhere where police officers were being attacked. Usually it was on the reverse, police officers were allegedly attacking the community. But the common denominator was there was a poor relationship in that community. So quickly, I came into this job right after an officer-involved shooting of an African immigrant. Preceding that incident was the murder of an African immigrant, an unsolved murder. So the community was on edge, very fragile at that time. So we were able to get in quickly, build those bridges, build those relationships. And I am so grateful that now I look back a little over 2 years, and we have not had one incident for well over a year where our police officers were being attacked. So very complex city. I mean, we have the second largest port on the East Coast here in Portland. We have a full airport. So it's a full-service city. Like we talked offline, I mean, it's certainly not a place where we have dirt roads and carriages going down the street. It's a city that has its challenges, but again, we have done good work here. So what I bring to Cincinnati is just a lot of different dimensions. I know what it's like to be a sitting police chief and the buck stopping with me. I know what it's like to have to make decisions. When you're not a police chief, certainly your decisions can fall off on the chief executive. And so, again, I'm ready to take on the Cincinnati challenge.
And finally, Chief, looking back to during your interview process, did they ever bring up anything with the riots and how the city has had to try to transform itself because of the race relations? Did they bring that up, and what were your thoughts to try to keep that going forward?
Right. We did have conversations about that. I know that's a pretty significant issue. Having worked in Detroit, grew up in Detroit, and then later on working in Los Angeles, I know firsthand about civil insurrection. I know firsthand about communities that feel disenfranchised and how sometimes one incident can be the trigger to cause a major event like a riot. I saw it as a young boy in Detroit, the 68 riots, one of the most violent riots in the history of this country. And I watched my dad, who was a police reserve, go out and go to work. I then later, as a Los Angeles police officer, as a young sergeant, doubling also as at that time, president of the African American Police Association, I understood the race divide. I understood the dynamics in Los Angeles for the time. And I'm grateful that along with myself and my board, that we were able to facilitate, or at least play a role in facilitating the healing in the city. And so this is not foreign to me. And so I understand, I embrace the whole idea and work of community partnerships. I got introduced to community partnership as a young police officer walking a footbeat in the city of Detroit. So my indoctrination throughout my now 35 years of experience has been partnerships with the community, because we cannot do it alone. And if you have good working relationships with a community, you can do marvelous things. That's why when I look back through my career, I look at what we've accomplished here in Portland, we've seen success. When I look back in the various communities I worked in Los Angeles, we saw success. So, and these things just don't happen by accident.
One other question, Chief, before you go. What is your message to the residents of Cincinnati?
Well, my message is that I'm going to work hard for you. I'm committed to the city. I already have a Cincinnati Reds hat, and I'm excited about this opportunity and challenge it. But together, we will and can make a difference. We will stem the violence in the city. We will continue with the good work that the fine officers have started since the consent decree and the collaborative. That work will continue, but we're going to take it to the next level. So I just want all, Cincinnati residents to give me a chance. Once you get to know me, you'll love me, and we're going to have fun together, the community and the rank and file.
Are you a sports fan, football or baseball?
Well, I like Well, I like a little bit of it. You know, I like baseball. I mean, baseball is kind of a passion. So I'm excited about Cincinnati Reds. They're leading their division right now. And even though I spent 28 years in Los Angeles, I was pleased to see, as I was going through the process, seeing Cincinnati and Los Angeles play. So I have a love for baseball, I love football. I mean, you got the Bengals, you got the Reds. Basketball, you know, I was certainly a Lakers fan here when Boston Celtics played the Lakers, so I didn't make a lot of friends during that season. But I'm looking forward to it. You know, a lot of great things are happening in Cincinnati, the development, the casino, the sports teams. It's an exciting time, and change is good. And, you know, I've worked here for the past 2 years in a community that historically is a little resistant to change. But I must say that they've embraced a lot of the initiatives that we brought forward, and as a result of that, we've worked in good partnership.